Hey, do you guys want to do a meetup? Would that be cool?
I mean,
Sure. Do you
Why
have
not?
one in mind?
Not really. Let's wing it. Shot.
I'm good for that.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the June 2020 Liquibase Community Meetup. Ding, 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 ding. Hey, we should do a poll now. We should see how long our listeners have been using Liquibase. Less than 6 months, 6 months to a year, 6 months to a year. That's my fault. I put that in and I messed that up. That's on me. And 1 to 3 years, over 3 years, I don't currently use Liquibase, and that's why I'm here. And there's a little note below. It says hosts and panelists cannot vote.
I can vote in my heart.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not allowed to. We're cut off.
So here we go. We've got 67% of our folks are saying they don't use it. And then we have someone 1 to 3 years. So welcome, welcome all. Go ahead.
No moss.
No moths.
No moss. No moss. Maybe a little bit. So let's see who do we have here. We've got Nathan should be on, right? Nathan, are you here?
Yes,
there you are, buddy. Nathan, this is all his fault. Benevolent dictator for life, Nathan Voxlin. He's the guy that started it. Kevin Chappell, say hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Ronak.
Hello.
Caroline.
Hello.
Enough from me, Maria.
How's it going, people?
And so look, folks, those are our Twitter handles. That is a good place to blow us up, talk smack, ask questions. We're pretty active Twitter users. Most of the time we don't talk about Liquibase, but we will if you'd like us to. And so this is what we're going to be chatting about today. So let's go to the next slide. So we've got a product update. We're going to be talking about what is going on with the community. And we have a very special guest. Kellyn Gorman is joining us. We're going to talk about, databases. But Kellyn, frankly, has forgotten more about Oracle than I will ever learn. And she's going to talk to us about that and what she's doing over at Microsoft. We're going to have open Q&A. So folks, if you got a question, how to get started, or you've got an issue that you would like to, Nathan and the rest of the team to dive into, let us know. You can answer it, or you can ask it right now, and then we'll have a wrap up. So I think, Mario, you are up next for a product update.
What I hear. Well, so we have a lot of things on our roadmap. We are very excited to announce that actually, I think today, after this meetup, we will be sending the files up to the Mavens and the GitHubs for a 3.10 release. And in this release, there is a very exciting capability, which is what we're calling SQL Plus integration. And if you don't want to use SQL Plus, the ability to add your own custom executor. So, just roughly speaking, you may realize when you use Liquibase that if you have SQL that's kind of specialized or it's variable rich, it has delimiters in it because you need to do functions, that can be hard to run through just a standard JDBC connection. So you might need to use something else. And this is what the integration means. So for those who are new, Liquibase does SQL. It does it as formatted SQL, and it does it as inline from XML, but also YAML and JSON files. And this new capability runs off of this new attribute called run with, which is a very straightforward name because that's exactly what it does. So you would say run with equals SQL Plus on your change set, and Liquibase will pick that up and it will fire off that new executor. For those who are new, roughly speaking, or broadly speaking, Liquibase works on the concept of a change log in which there are change sets. Each change set is a sort of an atomic migration or evolution to your database. Those change sets usually fire off a connection to your database, do their thing, and come back. With this executor, because you might have complex bits of SQL in there or SQL that you've already written and you don't want to rewrite, this will let you use that SQL in a much smoother, easier way. So there's a pro version. For those who don't know, there's Liquibase Community, which is everything that's out in the world, and it's great and does lots and lots of things. Sometimes there's some extra capabilities that we have added on, and those are available with the pro license. But because we love the open source community, we have this dual offering. It ships if you're a pro user with SQL Plus, but it ships with this kind of open gate if you're a community user, along with an example executor, which will allow you to figure out how to write your own custom executor. So a very quick example, let's say you need to do encrypted JDBC and you know how to get into the code of Liquibase and you want to write that. Well, you can write that. We'll show you how. And then you can queue up your change sets to run with your own custom executor by doing run with equal, in this example, let's say you call it eJDBC. And yeah, it's actually pretty exciting because this is something that comes up a lot. We do see this on the issues on the forums, or people have SQL that's pretty complex. They've written it P-SQL or any of the mini dialects, and they want to use one of their tools. This is the way to do that. I'd be happy to answer a question from anybody.
Well, yeah, and for mere mortals, just get the pro stuff and just put it in because it just works. You know, hey, we got to blow up Tim Hall over at Oracle Base because I know he was asking about this stuff. He uses a lot of that stuff, and there were some challenges for him, and he was waiting for that. So we need to let him know that it's out so he can say all sorts of great things about it once it blows his mind.
Yeah,
Hey, that's really cool, man. When does 3.10 get out? When is that done?
It is finished with testing. So it's, I think when we get off this webinar or Zoom meetup, and Nathan has some time, we're going to roll up all these files and send them out to the internet.
Yep.
But yeah.
Like, cool.
It can sound hard.
Do you have a ritual for the release, Nathan? Do you do something? Do you have like a release cloak? Do you have a release hat you put on, or is it?
I really should, but no.
Do you have release hype music? Do you have like a batting circle on deck song that you play?
Yeah, maybe. Are the users ready for this?
Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Try it. You know, let us know. Try it. See
Nathan,
what happens.
You missed the chance to go a deep cut with I put on my robe and wizard hat.
Yeah, that's true.
Who gets that reference?
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you have any recommendations, and Vox on a Twitter, just blow them up. And now let's Mario, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. And now we're gonna turn it over to Kevin and his team to talk about the community.
Sure. The team has been super busy. I'm just going to take this first slide and let everybody else talk about all the cool things they've been doing. But we, as you may or may not know, we've had a company rebrand recently, and we went from Data to Liquibase to more closely align with our community roots. As part of our rebrand, we launched 2 websites, liquibase.org for the community and liquibase.com for the paid users. This is going to make it easier to tailor each website for the different groups of Liquibase users. And moving forward, the community team is going to focus on improving the experience on liquibase.org. We're going to start first by updating a couple of key areas of the site. First part will be the community contribution section. It's soon going to include information on the different types of contributions you can make, how to contribute content, whether that's community created getting started guides or how-tos, how to answer Stack Overflow and forum questions, how to do Liquibase development, and how to do Liquibase extension development. Second area we're going to focus on is we'll improve the blog experience on liquibase.org. We'll make it more browsable. We're going to enable comments for discussion, and we're going to have a call for articles by community authors. So keep a lookout for that, especially if you want to contribute to the blog site, because I know there's a ton of good content out there. We've been finding it. Over time, our intent is to enable conversations on the site so we can collaborate on its evolution and get your feedback. Until then, if you have questions or feedback, please reach out to us on the forum or on Discord. Our contact information can be found on liquibase.org/contact.
Cool. Hey, speaking of forum.
What's up? Great lead in. All right, bear with me here. I think I'm just kind of an opening act for Kellyn, so I'm just gonna go with something I'm a big aficionado for. They were formerly called dad jokes, if anybody's familiar with those. I'll go gender neutral, parent joke. All right, where do all the cool cats learn to use Liquibase? Don't answer, I got it, I'll hook you up. Well, they go to the Liquibase Academy. All right. Hey, hold on, sorry. I'm sorry.
Suck, Wodak.
All right. Hey, I'm feline good about it. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So, okay, let me just continue here. Thank you. Anyways, hello, community, esteemed panelists. Everyone's a critic. All right. We have some new tools, some new shiny community tools that we want to show off here. We upgraded our forum. We're using, some of y'all might be familiar with what the cool cats, if you will, are using. They're using Discourse, and so are we for our forum. If you couldn't tell, the one on the left is our old forum. It has a red X on top of it. Boo, our old Zoho forums are gone, all right? I think, yeah, all right, so, oh, and also if you want to hear about the new features, it's got a lot, it's super feature rich, and you want to know my deep, personal, emotional, and intimate feelings on it, please read my blog on it. Okay, next slide, please. We're not done with the shiny tools. All right, so now let's say you want to chat with us in real time. Let's say you want to, you know, collaborate or chew the plant-based fat with us, you know, you can jump on Discord here. You gamers might be familiar with this platform. I'm old, so I'm not, but I like it. And look how we got the forum and the chat all matchy-matchy. Look at that gray, dark theme. Okay, so next slide, please. I really tried to find my authentic voice with this one. And I'm most comfortable actually making fun of myself or with other people making fun of me. Caroline and I met two users, Ayo and Suleiman, that actually work together in Nigeria. And they burned me up on Twitter in a good humored way. They threw my email out there. That's literally my email pictured there, laughing you know, their butt off at me responding to a PR that was 2 years old, which is better than some of the responses that I got while we're working on cleaning up our backlog of PRs. We interviewed them, we learned a lot about their process, and we'll have, you know, more insights on that. But I learned something here with these great guys. Well, two things. You know, every outreach is important, you know, and I'm glad we were able to win back over these folks that submitted a PR 2 years ago, and they're still Liquibase users. It was awesome. And incidentally, I have a lot more Nigerian friends now. I've like, I don't know, quadrupled it, you know. All right, so I will now turn it over to the lovely and talented Caroline.
Hello. Luckily, I'm not a dad, so I will spare everybody the dad jokes, but I do appreciate a good cat joke. I do. Ronak knows that I love my cat George, so I appreciate the cat jokes. Anyway, if y'all were at our last meetup in May, you probably heard me chatting about a guy named Artem, and he is one of our lovely supporters who's out there in Stack Overflow answering the many questions about Liquibase, and we appreciate his efforts. We're staying in touch with him, but I figured, you know, this month we would pivot a little bit, and Kevin brought up our content creators that are out there, and so I wanted to highlight Siva, and some of y'all honestly may already know Siva because you've probably gone to his YouTube channel and have watched some of his awesome videos. So Siva actually has over 12,000 subscribers. So become pretty popular, but you know, it's with good reason. He's making some really awesome, straightforward and really detailed tutorial videos. But beyond just tutorial videos or getting started videos, he's also doing some general subject matter kind of videos on anything from generating changelog to this is how you use SQL versus XML. So obviously we did that poll, and it seems like there's a handful of y'all that haven't really used Liquibase, or maybe you're just getting started. So I can't recommend him enough as far as if you're wanting to check out some really good video content. So hop on over to YouTube and take a look. But Ronak and I actually had the pleasure of meeting him over Zoom. Siva is from India, and so we got on early in the morning here in Austin, and it was late in the evening for him, but it was just super fun to catch up with him and get to know him better. So he's actually a technical lead at Metric Stream. So his YouTube channel is actually more of kind of his own side gig. Frankly, he just really loves teaching people. And it's something that he just enjoys doing in general. So he was able to practice enough with Liquibase. He felt confident in sharing his knowledge. And so he started making videos, and a lot of people were commenting and saying, hey, I have a question about this. Like, can you make another video about this? And so that's where the more videos started coming, which is awesome for us because it helps our users out. So he's been able to really recognize specific needs of our users. And so that's actually provided some really good feedback for our team, mainly with our documentation. So there's, areas that we're looking to improve upon with our documentation specifically, but in general, we're excited to keep engaging with him. And as he sees more people asking questions, he can kind of share it with us too. There's a handful of things that he loves about Liquibase. Obviously, he mentioned rollback. It's free. It's awesome. He obviously appreciates the functionality of Liquibase that rivals some of our competitors. I'm not going to name any names, but he did mention that he appreciated that. But he's just one of the many content creators that are out there. We've been finding so many awesome people that are producing information about Liquibase, whether it's a blog or it's a video. And we really want to promote that work and really just get to know you. So if you do have work that you've written in the past and we haven't shared it, send it to me. Let's share it. And I think ultimately we want to start engaging more with our third-party content creators so that we can develop a relationship, because ultimately it's going to really benefit our community. So if you just ever have interest in writing about Liquibase, reach out to me. My Twitter is right down there. I'd love to chat and meet with you. But that's all from my corner.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, Caroline. I do appreciate it. So we've got, I believe, one more section before we have a little chat with Kellyn. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A little widget on Zoom. But let's talk about Liquibase Labs. And as you know, not all databases are supported in Liquibase Core. So we have extensions to support that. And so we've got a lot of them just released. Extensions for Snowflake, Mongo, Cassandra, of course, updated all the other ones that we have, Postgres, Oracle, those sorts of things, doing things that Liquibase Core is not doing. But, at Liquibase, we really believe that database extensions are the future. Write them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Will that give them a sense of pride?
I believe so. I think that. Thank you, Mario. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. But look, this is a pathway to supporting these databases inside Liquibase Core. And so we've had a lot of extensions. Certainly our friends over at SAP HANA, they totally rewrote the SAP HANA extension. And it was Jonathan Bregler over at SAP. We talked about him last time. And so that's released now. He updated, sent out a blog about that, about transferring that open source repository to the Liquibase org and GitHub. And so we have a pathway now to bring that into Liquibase Core. If you want to do the same thing for your database, there are three very simple steps. One, we got to have a repo in GitHub. It's got to be in GitHub. Apache 2.0 license. We would like to see integration tests, ideally run against a Docker container using Travis CI. So you can look at the other things that we have. I think MongoDB extension is a really good example. SAP HANA is a really good example. And to see how to get those things going. Of course, answers@liquibase.org if you need any help. What we're going to do next is, once it's gotten to a point where you're ready to turn that over to the team, and have us start working on it and releasing it and supporting you, what we're going to do is we're going to fork that repository into our GitHub org. You're going to be a maintainer. You're still going to be able to approve PRs. It's yours. It would just be plain rude to not allow you. And frankly, we'll need your help. But to get that into Liquibase Core, we're going to need some examples of how it's adopted and doing production pushes. So we certainly have that with SAP HANA. The original maintainer for the Snowflake extension has done that. So by having those, that gives us another group that we can consult with to make sure that, frankly, it's doing it right. And that's what we need. Ideally, we get the database vendor to help us out as well. We certainly have our friends over at DataStax helping us out with Cassandra. That's really cool. And just looking forward to having those other conversations. But if there is something that you're working on, we would love to partner with you and make that more of a reality and bring that into Liquibase Core. Hey, let's talk to Kellyn. So all this other stuff is boring. Kellyn, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So everybody knows Kellyn. Kellyn is, like I said earlier, Oracle expert. And she's over at Microsoft now. And she's doing really cool things over there. RV aficionado.
Yes.
If you follow her on Twitter, DBA Kevlar, you can see all sorts of great stuff about where she is and where she's been. Where are you right now?
I am in Gig Harbor, Washington. So I'm just kind of southwest of Seattle out on the Sound.
Well, we're all stuck inside.
I'm stuck inside too. It's raining today, so I'm not going anywhere. It's all right.
But you were saying earlier, this is just beautiful there, and you're looking out at pine trees, and it's just gorgeous.
Monsters trees. My office in the RV, because you're looking back at my kitchen right now.
Mm-hmm.
It slides out, so I've got windows on all sides, and it's big trees. So yeah.
Well, look, you've been doing things with databases for a while, and you've certainly seen the rise of Agile, the move to the cloud, DevOps, microservices, and all this stuff. And I just wanted to get your take on how has that DBA role evolved in this crazy, brave new world of DevOps and the cloud and microservices?
Well, I think first of all, it's breaking down how a DBA views their role. We kind of have talked about this before, and I know the DBAs have heard me say this before, is that if you have 3 weeks of busy work, you have value, and that's not really true. I believe in evolving the DBA. I was always one of those. I'm easily bored. I'm an ADHD kid. And if I was doing anything more than once, then I was like, there's something wrong here and I need to automate it. So DevOps for me was an easy adoption. I also am the communicator in any group. I have some customers that bring me in, and I start with the database realm and then go into DevOps and just keep working down the line and continue on where everybody else falls off projects. I continue because I'm communicating and I'm identifying what the bottlenecks are and then bringing people together. And that is one of the biggest challenges that people find, and where DBAs can really bring everyone together, because one, the database touches everything. And two, if you have those skills of identifying where those roadblocks are and making it more efficient and making it more agile and getting folks to communicate and shifting that culture, I think that's where the DBA really has a central piece of this. We have these massive scripting skills because, especially on the Oracle side, we were very command line, that we were able to pick up and run with a lot of tools. And if we were moving forward like everyone else was, and I know I was, is that I was expected to do more with less. So I had to automate. I mean, most of the organizations I was brought into, somebody knew me there and said, oh, you need to automate all this. You want Kellyn in here. That's what she does. I don't do this. I'm a DBA, but Kellyn's the one who automates everything. And that was my job, to silence a page or make everything very robust and agile and move it forward and silence everything so that it runs smoothly.
So everybody leaves you alone and you can travel the country in an RV.
Yes,
the
I
goal.
love remote work. Yeah, I believe in it fully. I've done it way too long. Yeah, to give it up.
Well, look, I've been doing this a while, and I got to tell you, having Oracle and Microsoft in one's title,
Hmm.
I know we've changed. I know we've evolved as an industry. I know, you've got Satya, or Microsoft loves Linux,
Yes.
and up is
And we're all
down.
Team Satya. Yeah.
And so what are you doing over there with Oracle? What are you focusing on right now at Microsoft?
The joke is that I'm not just the chef on the Oracle side, that I am the busboy, the waiter, the hostess, the chef, the restaurant owner. I'm everything. As we build this out, we're trying to engage and realize that about 80% of our workloads are lift and shift onto Linux servers. We're building out the idea of what is supported, what is certified, how do you build out that infrastructure, how do you build it into a DevOps pipeline as well. For most of our customers, it's not just that they need that infrastructure, they need just that database, or they need just that code, they need to do it from end to end. So being able to build that out and have it built into a pipeline that functions for everyone, and getting those out of those siloed groups is one of the biggest challenges that I work with customers. Like I said, I'm usually brought in for the database sizing point of how do I build Oracle on this infrastructure? How do I shift that workload? But after they get me in, they're like, okay, now that I've got this, how do I get this end to end? And that's where my DevOps skills have come into play. And I think that's where, as we start talking about Liquibase, how important that is, that essential piece of standard DevOps deployment. People isolate it still. As much as DevOps is supposed to go end to end, people still go, well, I deployed the architecture, I'm done. And it's like, that's really nice. You get the infrastructure, you've got the server, you've got the database, but how does this work together? And they're like, oh, we have our tools, we don't talk to their tools. So yeah, it's an interesting landscape right now.
That's cool. I mean, it's with that lift and shift. I mean, you're taking Oracle, and they have other applications that
The
they're
application tier, database tier, their load balancers. I have to figure out how it's all going to work, how not just to size it out, but how it's going to function. What services am I going to replace from the on-prem environments? Explaining to everyone involved, we are architecting for the cloud. So what's built into the cloud that you're not going to want to build redundancy in? And then say, okay, this is how everything processed on-prem. Does it make sense when you go to the cloud? Are you going to end up with egress charges? The way that you've always done things may not make sense. And even that gets into deployment. A lot of times you get into these companies and you find out there's no documentation. When they decided somebody was going to release something, it went to this ticket to this team, and then this team sent an email to the other team, and oh, did you know so-and-so was doing this when they noticed so-and-so was at their desk doing the release. Getting that all identified and actual inventory and everything built out so that you're moving all of it correctly and nothing's left behind is very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it's not just lift and shift. It's got to be lift, shift, and improve.
Evolve. Yep.
Yeah, it's. I remember there was, when we there's that move from mainframe to client server, and all those client server apps still had key bindings for the mainframe terminal. It's like,
exactly.
Why are you doing that? And it's just stop. Just stop. Make it better. Make it better. You mentioned Liquibase. We're talking about it. So,
yeah.
What is your favorite DevOps tool, and why is it Liquibase?
And why is it Liquibase? The funny part is that as many tools that I am offered, when people are like, here's Azure DevOps, we use this every day because Microsoft absolutely believes in eating their own dog food. I write a lot of my stuff in Bash and I just plug in whatever I need. I have so many different plugins. If I need Azure DevOps, I just got a plugin for it. And the biggest challenge that I ran into was when I would say I need to deploy end to end and I'm doing, Azure Data Factory and Azure Analysis Service and all these other stuff. People are like, oh, you're plugging that in with the infrastructure piece and everything else. I'm like, yeah. Did we discuss that I need to actually deploy the schemas and the database objects and the data itself? And people are like, oh gosh, how are you going to do that? And I'd have to figure it out on my own into my Bash scripts. And having something like Liquibase where I would have been able to have that into the pipeline a little bit simpler would have been an awesome thing when I was trying to self-teach myself on Azure. I didn't have that tool set at that point. So
yeah, we're a huge fan of Azure DevOps. I met Jessica Dean at SwampUp a couple years ago, and we mainly talked about my squat form. I got some tips from her because I was, my knees were over my toes. It was just bad, and she helped me understand that. Yeah, and also she has really good whiskey recommendations.
well, I will say for those that go, oh my God, Kellyn, you're in Azure, you know, you're working with these Windows machines. I have, I think maybe one Windows machine. That's my Power BI gateway.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everything else is Linux. I do everything from the command line. You know, I have my repository of bash scripts. I write everything in bash with AZ commands if I need to. It's gotten to the point where everything is, no matter what strength you have in scripting, you can use on Azure.
I think
simple.
Microsoft has done a phenomenal job with that. Just like, you know, back in the day, it was you work with this software vendor, you got to have everything. And it has shifted. It's like, no, whatever you need. We're going to build that platform and you can do it however you want.
Exactly.
That's the better way. And just let the best ideas win. You know, let's not wall garden this stuff. You know, it's no fun. Last question. How's Esme? How's the dog?
Esme is lovely. She is taking a nap right now because she says it's raining out and she ain't going out in that. She's like, no way. I'm a Chihuahua. I belong in like heat down in the South. I don't belong out here. So yeah.
And I said last one, but I got and Tim's doing okay. He's
doing wonderful. He's working with customers on our team. So it's the two of us. We joke we're 80% of that Oracle expertise. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, will you stick around during the Q&A? So if we have questions, especially Oracle ones, we can have you answer them.
Of course, I would love to.
All right, cool. Thank you, Kellyn. So that's, well, we're going to go into Q&A. So I'm going to look at what we have here. And remember, folks, you can still put them in. And I'm checking. I'm not seeing any open questions right now. Maybe I didn't refresh. Do I need to close this and do it again? Mario, do you see any open questions?
You know, I see a question in the chat from Fariba asking about Flyway.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Nathan wants to take that one. Nathan hasn't jumped in too much.
Sure. Yes, I can do that. Yeah. So the question was, I'd like to ask if Liquibase is like Flyway. I used Flyway in a Java app for creating databases. So yes, I guess the sort of short answer is yes. It's, you know, both Liquibase and Flyway are trying to solve sort of very similar problems of, you know, how do we manage the sort of database. I think, you know, my biased viewpoint is that Liquibase does, you know, a lot of additional stuff beyond what Flyway does. You know, Flyway is, you know, to a large extent, sort of a subset of what Liquibase will do. We have a lot of support for, you know, kind of better support for being able to do stuff cross databases. So you can deploy the same changelog to both Oracle and SQL Server and MySQL. You know, we have like the XML and YAML versions that, you know, work well for people that maybe don't know SQL as well or want to have a little bit of an abstraction between, you know, the raw SQL and what they're trying to do. We have rollback support, which is free in Liquibase versus Flyway where it's not. You know, we have more functionality around, you know, being able to do diffs and comparisons and that sort of stuff as well too. So that kind of core feature or the core functionality is similar, and then like I say, we provide a lot more on top of that.
The one I really like is the reverse engineering. That's the thing that does it for me. I can do Liquibase generate changelog, point it at a database, and it's going to create that structured doc for me.
Yep.
And so the big difference here is the object model. Instead of just running SQL scripts and saying I've run them, and also there's going to be support for a lot more databases. You know, primarily through extensions. But for example, if you want to use SAP HANA, MongoDB, Cassandra, there it is. Yeah, just try them out. Download them both, see what happens. Pepsi challenge.
Yes. The other thing I'd point out too is from a user standpoint, the difference you'll end up seeing is Flyway kind of breaks each of your changes up into separate files. So you have, basically each of the steps you need gets to be a separate file. And, while that can be nice, for me, that gets to be just sort of a lot of files and it's hard to manage and hard to kind of, sort of see the flow through it. Whereas Liquibase lets you kind of block them together into single files a lot easier. So, from a maintainability standpoint, I think that makes Liquibase a lot easier to use as well.
Well, cool. Mario, we've got some for you in here. You want to take these, buddy?
Sure. Let me just add in one bit to what Nathan was saying. One of the things that I think is nice about Liquibase is that you can do it in the way that Nathan just described, and you can do a sort of version of how Flyway does it. So if you feel like you want to break things into separate categories, you can do this concept called the master changelog and the nested changelogs, wherein you have a master changelog that is basically a collection of includes that point out to separate files. And you can organize those files how you want, put them in source control, do what you want to break them up in a way that makes sense for the way that you work. And so it really, sounds simplistic to say, but it really is the best of both worlds. If you are going to be contain it in one, and that's great. That's all you need to track. But if you need to split them up, you can split them up as well. So that's good.
Cool.
Yeah. So I see a question. This came from Twitter, from where, but can I use SQL command CMD with the new SQL Plus custom executors? You can if you build it. Because it is open source, you will have that ability to integrate it. We did surveys and we found that SQL Plus was the one most commonly used by at least the people who answered our surveys. So that is the one that we built first. But we are definitely open to building other integrations. But one of the beautiful things about open source piece of software is that people can build what they need when they need it. So if you want to follow along, if you download Pro, you can do it as a trial. You can see how to build your own integration. If that works for you and you want to share it back to us, that would be awesome. If we want to figure out something because it's proprietary, we can sort of take it offline and figure that out. Or you can just open it back up to the world and we'll roll it into our future releases. So it is open to do that. And that's a beautiful thing for people out in the world.
Well, yeah, and I imagine if somebody did that, got it working for themselves, and then partnered with us, that's something that we would apply our resources to help improve.
Yeah, I think we would be happy to do that. I think, as we're talking about extensions, people have built, Snowflake comes up a lot. We haven't built yet an official version for Snowflake or brought it in, it's officially supported, but it is out in the community. People are using it. We are actually, in our ticket conditioning meetings, we are talking about Snowflake tickets that have come from the community.
Yeah. And if you want, and look, go to docs.liquibase.com, put in Snowflake, and you'll see how to use it. Steve just updated that, more to come. But yeah, it's, this is a conversation, if there's something, whether it's, SQL command, CMD, or if it's a platform, let's talk. This is how we develop software now. This is the brave new world.
Yeah, I mean, because we are providing tools for developers, we always want to know, it's sort of my job, but I do love knowing what people are trying to do, because there's just too wildly diverse an array of tech stacks, from various clouds to various platforms to various releases to this extension or that extension, for us to know all these things and to have recipes that work for all of those right off the bat. But the world has them, and we just need to help facilitate that sharing of knowledge.
Cool.
Which is where the community comes in, the efforts of Caroline and Ronak and others.
So any more questions? Are we good? Anybody else? Okay, I got this. Melissa gave me the, let's move it along, Reeves. Well, folks, we're going to wrap this up. Look, you can always follow up with us online, Reddit, Stack Overflow. Don't forget the Liquibase tag. Blow us up on Twitter. I will also be presenting at the JFrog Swamp Up conference. I think I'm recording today, and I think it's next week. there are a ton of great presentations for that. So go check that out. That's a good place to get in touch with us. And also, JFrog has put on a really good conference with lots of great content, and you can do it in your jammies. It's awesome. But I guess if it was still in Vegas, you could do it in your jammies too. I mean, it is Vegas, right? Who cares? And then our next meetup is on July 16th. And Kellyn, where will you be July 16th? Where will you
Back
be?
in Portland. Portland, remodeling that house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, just let us know how it goes. And
I will.
and we'll look for that invitation for the guest bedroom.
For the floating home, yeah. Yeah, because the kids can find us now. I might actually get kids back.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the folks that attended. Thank you, Team Liquibase. I do appreciate it. And we'll see all of you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.
Bye.